Hi, and welcome back to Thone's 1 Peter Nibbles number 12, A Heavenly Inheritance, Part 3 of 18. Prophecy of Salvation. Again, this call comes from 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 through 12. And the last two days we have talked about the future and the present. So now we're going to go into the past. Now, why is this in the Bible? Peter finally tells us about the Old Testament prophets and what they knew. The communications. Very important to our confidence is the veracity of our present and future discussions. If we're not confident in the present and the future that God promises us, then how can we be happy about much of anything? It's a very worldly problem. So, again, we're back to the Liberty University Study Bible. And the application to me, we've discussed the future in salvation and then the present. Now we turn to the past. According to the Bible, the Liberty University Study Bible, the prophecy of salvation looks to the past. This section is most important, for it reveals the salvation was the object of prophecy and reveals how much the Old Testament prophets knew of Christ. The prophets, that is, the Old Testament prophets, searched diligently. This emphasizes the study involved in their search. They wanted to know when the Messiah was coming and what it would be the circumstances of his coming. The Spirit of Christ, that is, the Holy Spirit, which was in them, indicates that the prophets were indwelt by the Spirit. Even at that time, we think of the indwelling coming after Pentecost, perhaps, but we have to understand that God picked out certain people to be prophets in the past who were to give His word in a very dramatic fashion, and the only way they could do that is with the knowledge provided by the Holy Spirit and the confidence provided by the presence and indwelling of the Holy Spirit. So those people got that indwelling earlier, but that doesn't make them more valid or less valid. It just simply is their job was to be the mouthpiece of God at that time, and so therefore they had to have a bit of God in them to know what to say and do. God leads us with the prophets told of all of this. It should be no surprise. God says that. I mean, had we looked with an unbiased mind at the prophets, we should be able to foresee most of the events that have come on since then. And that's an important thing when we get into end times prophecy, for example. Are those prophecies, just as good as the others? Yes, of course they are. My response is, Lord, thank you for, from beginning to end, giving us a consistent story of how salvation was to be, is, and will continue to be. And that's those three things. Back in chronological order rather than in reverse. How salvation was to be, that's the prophets. How salvation is, that's us today. And how it will continue to be, and that is that time in the future when we are literally living with God. So we'll talk about some more next time.